What is up, guys? We are back here for a very special interview. We're talking to a couple engineers, maybe by day, but they're trying to make a video game. Super excited for this one. If you guys don't mind doing me a favor, can you introduce each of yourselves and give us a little background about yourselves before we get into it?
My name is Killian Farrell, and I am the game developer, or one of the game developers behind the game The Engineer. And as Jake just said there, I'm actually a civil engineer by day and a game developer by night.
I'm Neil. I'm the other half of Peaty Turf, and yeah, I'm making the engineer with Killian, and I work under Killian during the day, and then work with him at night. So.
According to legend, a secret creed of engineers existed throughout the Middle Ages. Engineers so brilliant, they revolutionized the construction industry. This story is not about one of them. In this story, you play an inexperienced engineer learning his trade. You must master the art of designing structures, buildings, and more. Learn complex skills like advanced structural engineering and how to walk. Designing is one thing. Ensuring your structures actually stand is another. Use your structures to earn money. Adapt your designs to save materials. Use your savings to build your dream home, or even upgrade it to your very own castle. In this physics-based adventure, you are the engineer.
That is so cool. Okay, so how did you guys first two meet?
So I basically got a job at the same company as Neil back in 2014, I think it was, and it was a civil engineering role, and Neil was already part of the team that I joined. So it was a completely different job than what you think we might do now in terms of the game development. But it was a civil engineering job in the nuclear sector, which is what both of our background is. And from that, basically, the relationships, professional relationship started there. And yeah, we've kind of changed companies since then, but we still work together. Professionally.
And so between the two of you as well, when did the first talks of being like, hey, we should like work together in a greater capacity, we should try and make a video game? Like, take me all the way back.
Yeah, so even though we're both civil and structural engineers by day, for the last maybe 10 or 13 years, I've been involved in the game development community, doing kind of game jams as a hobby, basically. So making games wasn't kind of unknown to me. In the last maybe 5 or 6 years, our roles as kind of civil and structural engineers have evolved into a more kind of a digital engineering kind of space where we're using lots of cool, technologies, and one of them is the Unreal Engine. So we do a lot of like simulations, visualizations, custom applications, virtual reality, augmented reality, all that kind of cool stuff. That's basically what we do day in, day out, almost now at the moment. So basically over the pandemic, we started to realize that, the more proficient we got at the Unreal Engine, the more we realized that this is actually quite fun, and there's something we could do there in the video game space. It helps that we play video games like a ton. I watch quite a lot of streamers and YouTubers, etc. So with that in mind, and having done kind of game jams before, it was something that just slowly started to happen. And we started messing around with the idea of like, oh, we could build like a treehouse building simulator. There's no games with like, all of the building games like Fortnite and Ark Survival Evolved and Rust and all that. They all use the kind of same building mechanics. And what we decided to do was if we went at it with a slightly different angle, where you've got no grid, everything is physics enabled, and what kind of structures can you build? So that was the kind of the angle that we approached it at.
Yeah, just kind of embracing the chaos where like you're not going to have something that looks perfect. It's going to be a bit of a shambles, but if it stands up, it's a victory. So
we should also add that the engineering that we're showing in the game isn't a reflection of our engineering capacity in our professional world. We are better at building stuff than the rickety structures that fall over all the time.
You guys are engineers by day and then game devs by night. That's freaking cool. But it's also got to be really difficult. Like, what's a whole day with you two like?
Yeah, so it's been tough. It wasn't so bad, but I've got a 20-month-old baby, and he's not slept for 18 months. So that's been particularly difficult. But what's it called? But yeah, just basically a full day at work. I try not to do any overtime. So as I already feel like I'm doing overtime, if you know what I mean. And then yeah, just get all the family stuff out of the way, and then straight back on it. Yeah, it's not good for posture. It's not good for health. It's not good for a lot of things, mental health either. But it's yeah, we're getting there. It's been good fun.
You make it sound like a horrible experience, but no, it's for me personally speaking. So obviously work by day like a normal person, 9 to 5 job, and then in the evening, obviously you do this, that, and the other. But I used to play a lot of games. Warzone, which I know you cover quite a bit of, and like a whole bunch of other games. But over the last number of years, what I found is that I quite get a lot of enjoyment out of game development, and it almost in itself becomes a kind of a game that you're trying to beat. And so with that hat on, it just seems a little bit easier, and I still find it quite fun. It's one of these things, like a lot of things in life. Once your hobby and once your passion becomes your job, there's that added pressure, that added stress to kind of adds to it. And because we're pretty much completely self-funded, this is us doing it as a hobby where we don't have publishers breathing down our neck trying to get like deadlines. It's a lot more relaxed in terms of how we do it and how we deliver it, and we've got complete creative freedom of it as well. So in that respect, it's easy. But doing a 9 to 5 job and then working into the small hours of the morning and over the weekend, obviously we need to find time to do other personal stuff as well.
Yeah, use his answer, not mine. Mine sounded absolutely brutal, but no. It's been positive mostly. It's been good. It's very fulfilling when things all come together, and yeah, each kind of new milestone that you hit, and just I think it would have been a lot harder if we hadn't had such if people hadn't received it so well, and it's just that's fed the fire a wee bit. And it's been great. It's been better than we could have ever imagined when we started. It was really just a kind of wee hobby thing to begin with, and people have really taken to it. So it's been amazing. Yeah.
Some of the good milestones were when we posted it on Reddit, out in the gaming subreddit, and it got to the #1 post of the day on the video gaming subreddit with like 20,000 upvotes, and there was like hundreds of comments, and that was like it was just so cool to see. And ever since we started posting on TikTok, so I eventually made the plunge and went over to TikTok, and it's been super, super well received. Everyone's loving it, and it's been really great to get that feedback and to see it, all the wish list kind of coming in, which is a really big thing for like indie developers in terms of like the Steam algorithm, etc. Getting wish lists is one of the most important things, and just watching us climb up the rankings of the in the most wish listed games on Steam has been quite interesting to see. It's really cool.
Can you spot the biggest mistake this engineer made while building scaffolding designed to hold a number of blocks? As you can see, the structure holds up fine with just his weight on it. Let's see how it reacts when he walks over and tries to pick up one of these blocks. All forces are realistically distributed through his feet, which causes expected results.
Can you speak really quickly to that point of how important that exposure is for indie devs, like Reddits, Twitters, like you said, TikTok, all these places that your game can get clipped out and posted? How important is that as an indie dev with all the other hurdles you got to go through?
Yeah, I mean, so marketing in video gaming is you could talk for hours and hours on what works and what doesn't, and every game is different, which is I speak to quite a lot of other developers, and they say, oh, TikTok is rubbish, the algorithm never picks up my game, but I do well on Twitter. We're the complete opposite. So every game will have a different a different ecosystem where it does well, and depending on wherever you kind of post it. But it is 100% crucial to do well. You find a lot of people will, I don't want to show my game off yet. I want to wait until closer to release. I don't want someone stealing my idea. If you've got a good idea and you do well, someone's going to steal it either way. So chances are nobody's going to steal it until it actually becomes successful. So they've got something to benchmark it off. So platforms like Reddit, TikTok for us has been a really big one. Twitter, not so much for us. It's it's not been really good, but it's completely key. Building up those wish lists and just trying to do your best that when launch day comes, that as many people are kind of aware of your game as possible.
Yeah. I think there's thousands and hundreds of thousands of great games out there that got almost no exposure whatsoever just because they didn't focus on. Yeah. Anyway, it's wild.
Implementing TikTok comment ideas into my game.
Is the game potato compatible?
You just gave me a new mission idea. Deliver a big sack of loose potatoes.
Credit me, my name is Victor.
Consider Victor's potatoes an in-game item. What features would you like to see in the game? Enjoy some behind-the-scenes footage of some new features. I mean bugs.
And taking it back to you two working, you mentioned working full-time jobs and then working into the wee hours of the night / morning. I feel like that really speaks to the fact that you guys just love what you're doing. So you guys both love video games, but you also love the engineering job? Is that how that goes? You love them both?
Yeah. So, I mean, I can, well, it's funny because at work, I'm actually Neil's manager. So it's like, careful what you say. But, I am quite lucky in respect that, and I know it's the same for Neil, that like we're really blessed in that I really love my job. I've got a really nice job. I work for a great company. They push for like digital and innovation and all that. So we really are blessed in that regards that it's actually quite, when the weekend's over, I'm not like, oh no, I have to go back to work. It's quite a good job to have. So the engineering in terms of like the video game, I quite like that as well because, I've been playing games since I was a kid, and just when you're developing it and understanding how those games work, it's really satisfying when you come up with your own ideas, you do things slightly differently, and then you see it work. And so I like both aspects.
Neil, you better have the same goddamn answer.
No, he's totally right. We've got a very unique job within the industry, which is like kind of we're given free rein to kind of do things the best way, like the way we see fit, which is really cool and quite unique. But yeah, no, it's both aspects of it. I'm quite enjoying. Obviously, there are tough times on both sides, when things get stressful and stuff. But yeah, overall, we're surviving all right. And no, I mean it's going great. Yeah.
So the game itself, let's talk about that. When it comes to the Enjenir, and a casual's watching or someone's tuning in right now, what can someone expect from this game? What's the end goal? What's it all about?
At its core, it's a physics-based building game with kind of puzzle and 3D platforming elements to it. The main kind of mechanics around it are the things that make it unique is the fact that it's completely gridless. So nothing snaps to everything. You can't just build a perfect tower. You have to build everything piece by piece. And not only that, it's all physics enabled as well. So if you build something that's, off center or whatever, gravity will take over and will affect that. In terms of the third person character, that's also 100% physics driven. So the game uses almost proudly, we use 0 animations. So everything is completely physics driven, including the character. So when he's walking around and he places his foot on a structure, you're actually imposing a physical force in that direction on the structure. So it all kind of interacts together. So a lot of people have been describing it as human fall flat meets polybridge in 3D. And although there are some kind of fundamental differences, they're not a million miles off. It's kind of something along that vein.
I don't want to be offensive, okay? But when I saw the trailer, it reminded me of that bridge building game I played as a kid. They get the stress test of all the bridges where you have to connect the... What's the inspiration? Did you guys have any other games that you were inspired by, or was this solely because you were like, hey, we want to take our real life job and put it into a video game? Were there any other video games that you kind of, played when you were younger that drew inspiration for all this?
So that video game, the Bridge Constructor, I think it was like a Flash game that you played on online. I used to love that. So the old 2D bridge constructing games, fantastic contraption. That they were the kind of the OGs in terms of the kind of the bridge building games. Those are the ones that I really liked. In terms of the the kind of new modern day. So obviously you've got a whole bunch of games that have like lots of building in them. You've got the base building in Valheim, Rust, the Forest. There's loads of them.
Yeah.
But what we thought was, can we make a game where you can build cool stuff, but also you have a bit more freedom in terms of how you build it, and then also physics is involved as well. For me, one of the inspirations, a lot of people see the character kind of flopping around, and we have changed him quite a bit since the old trailer last year, and he's a lot more stable on his feet now. But a lot of people compare him to like Octodad or Human Fall Flat. And funnily enough, one of my biggest inspirations was, I don't know if you remember it. Do you remember Quap? The 2D game of the runner that you have to like control his legs.
Oh
yeah. So that was one of my inspirations, where you can control each leg individually. Obviously, we wanted to make it fun and easy to control, so you can just hit a button and he just runs forward. But that was one of my inspirations: is how far can we take this physics element to the game? How fun can we take that chaos?
And just to be clear, it's not just bridges. It's a variety of different structures. It's just that I think a lot of people just think that we're just a 3D bridge builder, but we've got a whole variety of different scenarios that you have to kind of solve. It's like a problem solving game. But
It's like it's open world sandbox. So like, what can people expect to be able to build?
Whatever you want, Jake. Your imagination is the only limitation. So what we've tried to do is that. So it's just the two of us, right? And super small company doing this in our spare time. One of the biggest killers.
Sorry, Killen. It's not open world. Just as I can.
It's not open world.
Yeah.
No, sandbox.
Sorry.
So. Yeah, that is what I was getting at. So it is just the two of us. So one of the biggest killers of indie games is people just the scope just being too big, and we've really tried to kind of refine that scope and really try and keep it compact. So the game is broken down into a series of loads of different missions of different types, and in those missions, basically you earn money, and you earn money in a whole load of different ways. And the overall mission in the game is you've got one big mega mission that you can access at any time, but you need like a ton of materials, a ton of money to actually build up and solve this particular goal. So ultimately you're trying to solve this mega engineering problem, but you need money to buy, all the different types of materials. So you need to finish loads of missions to try and build that and solve that however you see fit. We do have a sandbox mode as well. So that's one of the biggest features that was requested from us on TikTok and all the platforms, is just a big sandbox area where you can just get infinite resources and just build whatever you want. And we're really, really looking forward to seeing what kind of crazy stuff people design and build, and what kind of awesome structures they build that happen to somehow stand up, and then obviously using the character to be able to climb up on top of things and just getting into all sorts of situations. And just answer the question that Neil said, and that's why it's not open world. It's just missions and then sandbox. Because once you go open world, it's just there's all sorts of bugs and stuff like that are just inherent with that type of experience.
Well, yeah, you'll have kids sit there for 3 hours building up. You're like...
So we don't have any limitations. You can keep building up and up and up as far as you want.
You're going to see some crazy things, man. I got one last one for you too. I've been asking people for like messages of inspiration for other devs. You guys got a lot going on, but you're somehow still taking the time out of your day to progress this game forward. So if there's any like inspirational messages or just words you would have for aspiring devs out there who also want to make their own game, or at least try to, maybe you guys can speak to what you've had to fight through hardships wise, or just give them some words of, how they can take a step forward.
Yeah. So, I mean, the first thing I would say is take what I say with a grain of salt, and take what everyone says with a grain of salt. We've technically never released a game yet, so we're not going to claim to be like, the experts that know how to do it. But what I would say is that if anyone's even slightly interested in it, is that like, there's so many free tools available, open source, like Blender for 3D modeling. There's the Unity game engine. There's the Unreal Engine, which is what we're using. There's so many options out there. There's a bazillion tutorials for everything. If you're really interested in it, there's nothing really stopping you. You kind of just throwing yourself in. And one of the main things for me is just make sure you're still having fun. Do something that you'd like to play and that you enjoy doing, because ultimately at the end of the day, if you're not enjoying it, or if it's becoming too stressful, then it's obviously going to be a lot harder.
ETA, on a potential release for the game, and anything else you want to say about it, the floor is yours.
So I would say in terms of ETA, we've not announced a release date yet. Our plan is to release it later this year, but stay tuned to find out when that will be. Any call to action that I would say is that if you're interested and if it looks cool and if it looks up your alley and if you think, one of your favorite content creators might enjoy it, I would say wishlist it on Steam and let your favorite content creator know that it exists.